Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Joy Robb from DVPI and Take Back the Night, and really now with Walsh University. What is your position there, Joy?
Yes. So I am a project coordinator, just started there a couple of months ago over a federal grant that the university received to really beef up and enhance comprehensive prevention efforts, as well as reviewing response protocols, processes, policies, et cetera, surrounding the issues of dating, domestic violence, sexual violence, and stalking.
So this is the Safeguard Initiative project?
Yes, it's the Cavalier Safeguard Initiative. Kind of a mouthful, but yes, it is a program that is starting. And they already did have some existing programs in place, but this is really just looking at taking the next step.
With students or beyond in the community?
It's actually with students and beyond. So we're looking at this project to be a comprehensive effort for students, faculty, and staff. So Walsh community is certainly involved, and there will be some initiatives. I can't give away details yet, but there will be some initiatives happening in the next couple years that will be accessible to the larger community.
Oh, that's awesome. Is this through the counseling department, or who do you work under?
I actually work under Amy Velasca, who's the vice president for student affairs. So
Sure.
this project is operating through student affairs at Walsh.
Oh, that's wonderful. And then did you know you'd be doing Take Back the Night when you signed on?
You know what? I was actually the former lead coordinator for the Take Back the Night event, and I was really hoping to be able to stay on in some capacity on the committee through my transition to Walsh University, and we definitely saw this as fitting into the mission of the grant that we're working on and keeping community collaboration. So I'm very happy to be able to still be sitting as a member on that
It's so
committee.
fun. Some things are just a perfect fit, and that's is one of those things.
No,
My
absolutely.
goodness, you've got the perfect background to step right in there and just blossom this. I see that you're using a hashtag, TBTN Stark. Often that's because we're going to be taking photographs of an event and posting them and hashtagging them so they can all be together. But I think when you're talking about domestic violence, maybe not everybody wants their picture taken. So how do you want us to use this hashtag, TBTN Stark?
Great question. So we are actually, again, because of the positive approach that we're looking at for this evening, we do want people to tag themselves in posts. We will have a photo booth, I guess you could call it, set up at the event that does have TBTN with the hashtag SARC in the background. So we are encouraging people to take pictures at the event and share it. Now, what I will say, just when we're talking about photography at these types of events, that we would ask that people would take pictures of themselves. And if they see different pieces of artwork, absolutely feeling free to share those, but keeping in mind that there might be victims and survivors at this event. So we want to protect their privacy as much as possible.
It sounds like you're really putting together a family-friendly Take Back the Night, which I have attended these in the past, and they've been pretty heavy. Not something really for children unless it's therapeutic, children who've been exposed to this. But this seems like a different kind of Take Back the Night. Tell me more about it.
Yes. So again, as I said before, Take Back the Night has kind of been adapted historically to meet the needs of the community where it's being implemented. And so for Stark County, we have decided that we really felt strongly that this should be a family-friendly event. Now, what that does not mean is that we will not be discussing any serious content, because there will be moments that serious content is discussed. But we do have sections set up within the space for when that serious content occurs for children to go to. So we are actually going to have McGruff the crime dog from the prosecutor's office available. The Snow Sisters are coming out to play a part at it as well. And then there will also be a safe space designated where folks, and not just children, but children, adults of any age, can go if they're feeling overwhelmed at any point or just feeling triggered by any trauma, past trauma or history that they might have. There will be counselors available on site. Thank you to Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health, who is volunteering some of their counselors to come. But yes, we want to make sure that this is open, and with the artistic acts that we've chosen this year, focusing on the healing components, it should be very accessible for children.
We need to tell people where this is taking place and when.
Yes. So it is actually happening on kind of an odd day, but it has more so to do with the history of the timing for that. It will be on a Thursday night, October 11th, at the Cultural Center for the Arts in downtown Canton. 5:30 to 8:30 p.m.
All right. So you get everybody home in time because it's a school night.
It is a school
So you're
night.
keeping it light. I love that you've got the Snow Sisters. They are making their way around. If you love the movie Frozen, they kind of resemble them very much, but maybe without the Disney logo on it.
Yes, and they were so gracious last year to volunteer their time to this event as well. The children love them. I know my son was there, and he just enjoyed being over there. So
They're such a big hit. It seems that you're really focusing on the positive and on healing. How does one heal from this? That's a fast spiral down and a slow spiral up, I would think.
That's another complex question, Susie, to ask.
That's what I do.
I know. So what I will say is that there are some amazing resources out in the community that are helping to collaborate for this event, who all provide resources available in some capacity to helping victims and survivors heal through that process. So we have folks, for example, from the YWCA Canton, who provides shelter. We have Compass Rape Crisis, who provides counseling and legal advocacy services and medical advocacy. We have Domestic Violence Project, who also provides many of those comparable resources. So there are many ways to go about that. But I think one of the bigger issues that we need to look at is this idea of trauma. And trauma is something that you process through, you work through. It's about connecting with some of these artistic resources as well as other outlets and activities. I will say I am not a counselor, so I can't speak too much to that in terms of that being in my scope of expertise. But what I do know is from the work of people like, again, Dr. Bruce Perry, et cetera, rhythmic activity helps. Getting counseling helps, but it's really a lifelong process, and I can't speak to that. It's a lifelong process, and trauma is unfortunately a very devastating thing that can occur.
You've gotten to hear people's stories who have turned it around. If you've attended a Take Back the Night, there are some very wonderful stories of hope.
Oh, absolutely.
People being able to really get on with their lives and live happy, productive lives after removing themselves from a traumatic experience. Sure. Can you share something without sharing any names or anything like that, something that maybe inspired you because you saw what the change that took place in one person's life?
Yes. So I will talk to one person individually without giving any identifying information, but we have several people out in the community that are survivors of violence, and it's not necessarily something that those individuals choose to share openly. The reason is because, like many other issues, you open up about that topic and you kind of become known as that topic in the community rather than the profession you're attached with. So I will just say that I met someone several years ago, phenomenal woman, and is just really doing so much to give back in these types of areas, I'll say generally, and to see and hear about where she came from to where she is now as just being a pivotal person in the community. It's just phenomenal to hear about and phenomenal to see. And healing is absolutely possible, and hope is absolutely possible.
And that's what we want to stress. It seems very difficult for someone who has not experienced this to understand why a person stays in that situation in the first place. Can you give us some insight of what paralyzes a person that they don't just remove themselves from danger?
Another complex question with another complex answer, but there are many reasons why somebody doesn't just remove themselves from their situations, and you can look at it through several different lenses. One that we often see is the financial component. So if a man or a woman is held in a position where they become financially dependent in some ways on their partner, it is very hard for them to just leave a situation, particularly if there are children involved. Understanding how that trauma of even just leaving from a parent can then impact a child even more. And another thing would even be looking at this idea of isolation. So oftentimes victims and survivors that are in these relationships will be isolated over time from family, friends, communities. They end up losing support systems. But I always like to say when I share in public, it's not always that situation of a perpetrator saying to a man or a woman, I'm going to isolate you today. It's oftentimes a situation where over time, those individuals will start putting down the people closest to them. I can't stand your mother. I can't stand your friend. I can't stand when you hang out with this person. And so over time, when it's said over and over again, an individual can get worn down on that and start feeling like it's easier to distance themselves from those people and those support systems that they have than to have to deal with it from their partner.
So again, for those people who are feeling that they are being pulled away from, that would be one of the flags to watch for.
Absolutely. Is that isolating? Absolutely. When there's a lot of distance happening.
I love that you work with so many people. You are certainly not doing this in a vacuum. This is not isolated. You are collaborating with many, many organizations. You probably want to mention them now and all the group. This is a collaborative effort to raise awareness.
Yes, it is a collaborative effort. And I do want to just mention the history real quick about this event. So, I've only been in the community working on these topics for just a few years in comparison to what some of the other partners in this community have been working on these for. And historically in Stark County, there was a very vibrant collaboration that was occurring many, many years ago around this topic. And over time, it just kind of dwindled. Nothing malicious, just kind of dwindled over time. And so a few years ago, we decided, you know what, this is such an important topic, and this is not something that exists in a vacuum, like you said. There are many different people dealing with these folks from all different angles. And so I just want to give shout outs to the following agencies who have been partners and have supported this cause over the last couple of years and this year as well. Domestic Violence Project Incorporated, who is the lead coordinating agency for this effort. Compass Sexual Assault, Education, Prevention, and Support. Goodwill, who also helps with them. YWCA Canton, Malone University, Walsh University, Mercy Medical Center's Haven Program, Altman Hospital's Serenity Program, Stark County Board of Developmental Disabilities, Community Legal Aid, ComQuest, United Way of Greater Stark County, Canton Museum of Art, John Ferrero, Stark County Prosecutor's Office, Job and Family Services, Arts in Stark. We just thank you all so much for your help in this.
And that's just a wow. That's an amazing thing to pull that many people together, but it's something that everyone believes in. So take us through it again, where, when. It's Take Back the Night, and a little bit that we can look forward to of experiencing that evening.
Yeah, so once again, it's Take Back the Night, Finding Hope in the Arts. It will be held on Thursday, October 11th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Cultural Center for the Arts in downtown Canton. It is free, so I want to put that out there. It's free and it's absolutely open to the public, and you will see many different dancers, musicians, singers, drummers, crafters, whole bunch of artists coming together to support this issue.
And the speakers will share their own stories, or what will happen there?
Yeah, so we are so excited to be able to invite in Missy McLean, who's coming from Akron Children's Hospital. She is a phenomenal speaker for anyone who has heard her, but she will be actually connecting back the issue of trauma and healing. So she will be following Alex Simon's presentation and performance to talk about how rhythm is important in the healing process, as well as to connect individuals and survivors back to some of the resources in the community. We will also have two survivors who are so bravely coming forward to speak about their stories.
It's going to be quite a night. Joy Robb, thank you so much for what you do in our community.
Thank you for having me, Susie.